It is 9:04 a.m. Saturday, August 6, 2011, and the Board of Trustees workshop for the Dallas Independent School District is in session. Mr. Chair, we have a quorum present, and this meeting has been duly called, and notice is posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551.
Thank you. We do not have a flag in here today, so we're going to dispense with the pledge of allegiance, if you don't mind, unless someone brought a flag. Getting one out there.
Well, you feel funny how it's going out with you.
I was trying to Google one real fast and bring it up.
So if you don't mind, we will take a moment of silence about that. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes. Enlarged ever this morning.
Last week when I was listening to the morning, yeah. How you doing, Miss? I'm slipping in after everybody else got here.
It was on time now.
I'm sorry. Miss Newton, you okay today? Got the lesson. How about you? I'm trying to make sure everybody's away. You missed us last time. Yeah, you had your notes?
We turned it in for you last time. Last time he forgot we turned it in for you last time.
Oh, okay. So someone sent it in for you. Okay. Did we take care of the high school vacancies? Okay, how about the middle school vacancies? I think I saw 2 or 3 middle schools yesterday.
What else?
Oh, yeah?
Food.
Good people. Hey there, Ms. Carter. Miss Lady. Gilbert, how you doing today? I'm doing great, sir. Good. That's why we're going on your chest. Wait a minute, you didn't do your cheek. Your cheek? Yeah. Okay. Your cheek. Down. You from your cheek also, right? Okay. A little bit of your cheek. Anybody else from your cheek? A little bit of time? Zach? Okay. Oh, we got a few Longhorns here. Okay. Vicki, how you doing today? I'm really trying not to be like what's the girl name? Williams. Wendy. I just always ask folks, how you doing? You doing all right? Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. Regina, you having fun? They turned the mic up on me for some reason. Feel like I'm the Dave Letterman show or something. Claudia?
Sir, you are correct, sir.
Claudia, you keeping everybody together?
Trying.
Trying. I don't tell these people stop saying trying until we doing it.
Oh, man. How are you doing today, man?
I'm just blessed, sir.
Good to see you being all blessed out and everything.
Yeah.
We have some visitors in the house. We have Dee Dee Alsup, I believe, and we have Brian Scott, Jason Scott, and we have, your name Brian. David. Okay. And David is he's a teacher at Townview. Originally part of the Academic Center, now he's part of Business Magnet, is that correct, with the reorganization? And I think everyone knows Rena Holmes. Appreciate y'all being here today. If you guys want anything to eat, I don't mind if you have some. I don't think Bruce is going to eat all the rest of it. Okay, just don't get all the bacon. Somebody around here loves bacon. That's okay. Nancy, we okay to get started? You think so? Bruce, you having fun? You want to get started? Adam, we okay with you? Okay. Carla, we okay with you? Okay. Edwin, it's good. Mike, it's good. Okay. Oh, Bernadette. I'm used to seeing Bernadette far from me. Here she is here close to me. How you doing, Bernadette? I'm so glad to see you. Good. You are the dream. Okay. Listen. Oh, here she comes. Miss Dorothy. Miss Dorothy. How are you doing? Yeah, you get to come in the middle now. Come here, Dorothy. No. Come here first, Dorothy. Come here first. Hey, Dorothy. How you doing? Dorothy. Oh, yeah, Dorothy. You know, I want y'all to know, I remember Dorothy's name because she has the same name as my mother, so I'm not calling you my mother, but Mother Dorothy. Yeah, I love my mother. And it's so nice for Dorothy to be here today. Isn't it nice to be here today? It's all right. It's okay with being late. How many minutes is she late? She's only about 10 minutes and 52 seconds late. Well, you're going to have the lovely pleasure of sitting next to Mike Morat. How about that?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I thank you, too. I didn't embarrass you, did I?
It's okay. No, sir. No, sir.
Well, I did. I'm sorry. Okay, we're going to get started. Ken Stifler was not able to make it today, but I told him that I will remind you that we still want to do the DISC survey. So what I'll do on Monday is send everybody a reminder to connect with him and give you his email so you can go ahead and get that done, so that the next time we come together, we can discuss the commonalities that we may have in place.
I've already completed the survey.
Oh, you have? Did it kind of accurately reflect you?
He hasn't given me my results back
Okay.
yet.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to do it again and see if I can make a change. I'm going to have my alter ego come up.
What did you come in at?
Kind of starting in the bottom right-hand corner.
That was
I was in between.
CNR, or I'm trying to remember what those things are.
I'm trying to remember the two, but I was in.
One
I
was
was.
conscientious and the other one was supportive.
Yeah.
You're conscientious and supportive.
Yeah. I'm trying to be a conscientious object. But I was in between, so I'm like, okay, I might be a little bit too nice to people. So Mike, I need to work on that. Oh, is that okay, Alan, if I work on not being so nice?
Personality.
Not being nice. Bernadette says I'm too nice.
So I think we can before that.
Yeah, I know. So, mhm.
I don't understand it.
He has given you the business card, and you were to email him, and then he would send you the link. So that's okay. I'll send you an email this week reminding you to contact him.
It's actually fairly fascinating for us.
Yeah. So we're going to not do the team building unless, Dorothy, you have an activity you can pull out of your hat?
No. I don't.
Okay, brother.
I don't.
No.
I don't.
I know a few of you have to get away by noontime, and I promise you, Bruce, we will be finished by noon, Mike. We will be finished by noon, Mike. Let me quickly go through this. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time, and I hope that lunch gets here before we leave. Okay. Okay. If not, then we're going to have a whole lot of lunch to carry with us. The sound people are going to have a whole lot of lunch to carry with them. That's good, though. But as you recall, back in June, we talked about the Focus 2012. Last time we were here, we went a little bit more in detail with it. And today, I mainly wanted to just spend some time talking about the commissions. But let me just quickly get to that point. I know you probably didn't bring it with you again. I didn't want them to print it out again because you already have it. But you didn't. Okay. I'm gonna put you in the Bluebird group. Make copies. We have a copy in this building? Yeah. Think so?
Jackie has.
We got rid of. Well, everything that we do, I think, is going to be built around our vision statement, our mission statement. I think that every committee, every commission should start out with our vision in mind and our mission in mind, and every meeting that we do should be based on what our vision is and what our mission is. Because when we lose sight of our vision, and when we lose sight of what our mission is, then we go off on tangents that are probably not worth talking about. We have our core beliefs that talks about various aspects of our district: students, community, parents, finance, and various aspects that I think we need to always keep in mind as to what are we working for. The goals that we have in place right now are still centered around some of the same things that we have in our core beliefs: dealing with students, dealing with our employees, our finance, our facilities, and our environments. So everything we do should be geared towards and leading towards one of these goals. As I said before, we have major tasks for the board this year. The one that I hope we can finish this month is the redistricting process. I know, I think we're going to have a report at the briefing next week, and I think the attorney's going to give us an update or an overview of what they've heard from the hearings. I believe we have at least 2 more hearings scheduled. Is that right, Kay? I think we have 2 more. 2? 9th and 16th. Okay. And we've already done the RFP for the superintendent search. I think we've gotten about 5 or 6 responses. And trustees, I'm thinking maybe around September, after we finish with the redistricting, then we can start looking at the process of selecting one search firm to help us. On Thursday, we will have Mike Casserly from the Council of Greater City Schools to come and give us some ideas about how other school districts, how other large urban school districts have done superintendent searches. So I'm hoping that we can get some insight from him as he shared with us what other school districts have done and are doing. Because I think in Florida, I don't think anybody's in charge of Florida right now. It seems like every major school district needs a superintendent. Dade County.
For us.
Huh?
That doesn't bode well for
No, it doesn't. You know, they have 3 major county school districts that are looking for superintendents, and then with us in Fort Worth, and we have a few other large places that are looking for school districts. So, well, I'll tell you, the picture, the mugshot did not look good for us. So, yeah, I don't know about that either. So, you know, the competition is going to be pretty fierce for us. Hopefully in September we can narrow down to one search firm so they can get started, and whereas I would like for us to be finished the process by January. If we're not at a point where we all can say it's a go, then we're going to do just like the Apollo. We're going to, not the Apollo, the shuttle. We're just going to stop the clock, regroup, and get it together. Okay? And Alan had talked about on the budget for next year of starting earlier and ending earlier. So hopefully around January we can start on the next year's budget, and I think he said he wants to be completed by May, so that if we need to make any kind of adjustments or amendments, we can make those amendments in June and be finished with it, hopefully, so we don't come back in August having to amend the budget for the year. Does that sound like kind of like what you had in mind, Alan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but I think we have a budget amendment, at least we should have a budget amendment for this, based on some conversation from last June.
Will we know what our fund balance is by May, or the final thing, or is that kind of an idea?
We'll know as much as May as we will in June.
Okay.
Yeah.
The issue we always have is when the legislature asks for our funding is going to be, but we know what our funding is going to be. So we're going to be like them back. The biggest issue I think we're going to have is our tennis boundaries. That's going to have a big impact on the schools, so we have to make sure that's under the compensation.
Attendance boundaries, you say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have an addition, well, we have a few more schools open up in August of 2013.
Few more schools opening, and if we decide that we may want to close some schools, we can have to do that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the new school boundaries, those are usually done in January or February.
Right.
January is what I was told.
But we have another set of schools coming up next year. I think for the next maybe 3 years, we have new schools coming up. Okay. So we're gonna be moving around for the next 2 or 3 years. I had talked about my idea about how we can look at things and our board principles, guiding principles, whatever you may call it, but just building on the word board and the acronym, building opportunities for achievement through relationships and determinations. And I mean board members and top-level administrators. We have to build those opportunities. We have to create those opportunities. We have to create opportunities for achievement from the student standpoint, staff standpoint, parent standpoint, community standpoint. We have to create those opportunities for people to be successful. And Alan, I think that the best way to do that, or one of the best ways to do that, is to build relationships. Create those relationships, mend those fences. Talk across the fence and then go back and forth between the fence and eventually break down the fence. But if we don't have determination, if we don't have a desire to do that, it won't happen. Now, I don't mind you telling me if you don't want to have a working relationship with me. I really don't mind. Virginia, you know what I mean? Just tell me, Lou, I don't like you. I ain't gonna like you. That's fine. At least I know where we are.
I like Regina.
Yeah, I like you. Well, she's a musician. That's why I picked on her. She plays strings, if I remember right. Viola, or is it viola? Viola. Never could get that instrument right. But these are guiding principles that I think we should work from. And I told you last time that the success strategies I got from a book called The 6 Pillars of Effective Schools. And if you have a chance, take a look at that book, 6 Pillars of Dynamic Schools. I'm sorry. There are a lot of good things in there. And each of the committees and commissions are looking towards some of these same success strategies. Communication and relationships. Part of this workshop is to look at bridging gaps, building communications, building relationships. Leadership and empowerment. That could be from the classroom leader, school leader, central office leader, some community leaders, and with some of these people, and maybe most of our leaders, they need to be empowered to know that they are doing a good job or that they can do an even better job. Of course, we should always plan for our successes and then evaluate ourselves to make sure that we have reached the goals that we set for ourselves. And the collaboration and partnerships, the mayor and the city council, the chambers, several groups want to help us. Several groups have an idea of how to make us better, Lisa. They know more about education than we do. At least they know about something that they think might help.
I'm ready to help them out on the potholes and color enforcement.
Or we're going to show them how to fix those potholes. We're going to show them how to tear down that motel across the street from Townview. Is that okay, David? Okay. Hey, how you doing? Snuck in on us. We got to do something about that motel across the street from Townview. At one time, Nance, I thought about having the students just stage a protest. We just come out of school and just go over there and just surround it.
Started that, yeah.
Yeah, and then we're gonna march around it 7 times and see what happens. Oh Lord, have mercy. Okay, we need to let it fall down, tumble down, burn down. It's all the comes down. Well, you can't go in the middle of the night. So we do have, believe it or not, there's an unwritten code that they won't come out during the daytime. They'll come out after school is out. So you know, we have some communication there, but I'd rather they go work somewhere else. Accountability and responsibility. We also be held accountable from the board members down to the basement members, whoever that may be. I'm asking board members to be accountable. I'm asking board members to hold superintendent accountable, to hold the top level administrators accountable. I'm asking for board members to have some areas of responsibility and to work with those top level administrators that have those similar responsibilities. Now, I'm not asking board members to micromanage, although some people say I do that. I just say I get more involved than others. Bernadette doesn't do that, and Bruce doesn't like that, but I get very involved sometimes, simply because I want to know what's going on. And Adam doesn't mind if I just try to know what's going on. Is that okay with you, Luis? Okay, just want to make sure I'm okay with you. Okay. Consistency and repetition. Whatever we do well, let's continue to do it. Whatever is going well in District 1 with Edwards District, at W.T. White, he's always bragging on. If it's working at W.T. White, let's see if it'll work at Carter or Roosevelt. If it's working at Lane Middle School, let's see if it'll work at Holmes or Hulsey or Hood. You know, there's something going on great at all of our schools. We just have to find out what it is and spread it out. Ms. Newton, you don't mind sharing your good ideas to all the other executive directors, I hope. Most of the successes are just, okay, you don't want to give all your secrets out. No, okay. Well, give us spoon feeders. Give us 1 or 2, you know, every once in a while. Okay. So that we can make sure that others are learning from that. As I said before, Focus 2012 is all about coming together, being interdependent. Board working with the top level administration, Dallas ISD working with the city, working with the chamber, working with other community groups. Interdependent. Now, as an independent entity, this board is in control and governs Dallas ISD. But for us to be successful, we have to work with others. You know, the old saying, no man is an island. We cannot be a successful district by closing our doors and saying, don't come in, don't talk to us, and we're not going to talk to you. We talked about listening and learning, and I talked about the dialogue and dinner. Stole this idea from DeSoto. It works well from what I could see. The few that I attended, where people are sitting around the dinner table just talking about 3 or 4 topics and just discussing how they feel about the potholes, or how they feel about, in one meeting I went to, they were talking about whether or not to bring in mass transit to DeSoto, and why it could work or wouldn't work, and various aspects. And I'm thinking we could do something similar to this. On a smaller scale, we meet in an intimate setting around Lisa's dining room table, and she'll invite some of her closest friends, and we're just going to talk about Dallas ISD. Choose 3 or 4 topics, discuss them, send that information down to the superintendent's office. Something might stick. You never know, something might stick. That's what I had in, I did something wrong. I pushed the wrong button. I'm also thinking that this is something that I'm pulling from Dr. Henry Hulsey. He had little meetings that he was going, I think, to every high school cluster, if I'm right. and he met with the teachers and staff to get their ideas about things. What I heard from that is that he did all the talking, and then there was little dialogue. So I think that we should get together at least quarterly and just talk to people. Now, the executive directors, you guys probably do something like this, or if not, then if you're not, I would ask you to start doing it. And if you are doing it, I would ask you to invite board members so that we can just be a fly on the wall. But Bernadette, I just want you to listen. Edwin, I don't want you to say a word, just listen. Matter of fact, trustees, we ought to sit in the back so that people won't focus on us. But I just wanted to hear the dialogue. Because we often ask, well, what do the principals think? What do the teachers think? At these meetings, we might hear what they think. Okay, but just be a fly on the wall, in the back, in the corner, in the dark, just looking and listening. Deirdre, you think this might work? I mean, would you be intimidated if we showed up? You wouldn't be intimidated if Edwin showed up? He's kind of I don't know now. Edwin's kind of a intimidating guy. Uh-oh, Bernadette wants to talk.
But
The staff may be intimidated?
the teachers, I mean, if the intent is to get the input from principals and teachers, I think you don't overload them with the presence of power, as it were. When Dr. Estes was superintendent, he started the meetings with the high schools, and one of the things that I think helped it to be so successful was that teachers could send in, and our principals, areas of concern so that he would make sure he would address those. And then from that, the dialogue really did take off.
Okay.
And so,
Looks like
That's
OI or
what-
something they used to call it, operation involvement, or was that before?
no, he started Operation Involvement,
Okay, that's what I remember.
but he also did the high school cluster meetings.
Okay. Okay, good. Main thing is
And board members were not there, but, you know, that's just no file.
okay. Main thing is that the dialogue goes on. Yeah, that's the main thing.
But when we have a dialogue, we need to make sure we have action steps that we're gonna address the concerns, areas of concern. And it's just not in the air.
Right. That's why I said that information flows back up to the superintendent, the EDs, and you guys work on the solutions. I do want this employee to be open to speaking. You know, Leslie's kind of intimidating too. He'll show up at a meeting, they won't say a word. So Leslie, if you need to get out of the way, if I need to get out of the way, so they can have this open dialogue, then, but some kind of way it needs to get back to us. So we need to work on breaking down that barrier with the teachers, so they don't feel intimidated because Leslie is there or Dorothy is there, that they feel okay about speaking and not be intimidated by their principal who may be listening. Yes, Bernadette.
We have constituent services, so we revisit and see what's going on with that. That we get a report every 3 months, trustees and then about concerns from the parents in the community. And we report it to constituent services. And I know years ago, it used to be under board services, where it was a direct loop back around to say that these are the issues that parents had, and board members, we addressed it and delegated to the necessary department. But we get that gift, and I always wondered, are we working and solving part PR when the parents are calling into constituent services?
Okay.
We have that department within the district.
Who has that now?
I don't know, but it used to be under board service, because to me, when it's under employee service, if there's concerns coming from the community, are we vetting, are they vetting those concerns, or are we getting the truth, basically? When it comes to board services, I think under Mike Moses, it was under board services.
I think the original intent was to let board members know what type of concerns were coming in so that we can make sure that they were being addressed.
Yeah, but when you get an employee, are they vetting them before they get to us on that disc that we get every 3 months?
Okay.
Where, to me, it should be where, as Mike Moses had it, under board services, because board services want the board to know the whole truth versus.
No, but we never, when I first came on the board, we were not getting any reports.
Well, Mike,
Only about 3 or 4 years ago when we actually first started getting just the raw data from constituent services.
yeah, but it was under board services when we got the raw down from constituent services. I thought it went back to bid, because we get this disc every 3 months, and I go through it, and I wonder if
The
it,
last 3 or 4 years.
how did it work? Do you know about constituent services?
We had a group that was called, we had a customer service center, and that customer service center handled the calls from constituents, and that's when you saw the report. But it was under the, I guess back then it was under the chief of staff umbrella under the communications arena.
Where they moved it?
Well, I think a lot of those people went away when we had the.
When we did the layering and correct.
So where does it sit now?
It's in the
HR.
One of our employees who really, his job is onboarding of employees. That's one of his assignments. So there's one individual that tracks them and, you know, provides the input.
Can teachers call into that line as well, to area concerns?
Is it meant for
I think
teachers?
it's really, I think it's directed at parents.
Okay.
Right, but teachers are working through the chain of command. They should be called.
Well, no, they feel uncomfortable talking to, saying, I mean, they just want a concern out there without any retaliation.
I thought we had an ombudsman's line of some kind, some sort of district hotline.
Ethics point through the OPR.
Yeah. So that would be where if they have to, if they've got problems with the chain of command, it would strike me that that's where they go.
But OPR is going to send it somewhere else if it's an
Well,
administration.
OPR reports directly to the superintendent, so hey, if it gets investigated, might not, it might, you know. You got it where, I mean, I'm just, but it can,
If OPR decides not to investigate it and it's still a complaint and a concern, it comes to the supervisor through ethics point. And then we, you know, like if I get a concern, we respond to it, and then to close out that case, I respond back to OPR to say, this is what's happened, this is what I've done, so consider the case closed. But the expectation is that the supervisor provides an answer as to the outcome of that concern.
I just have an observation, because I believe in the chain of communication, but my concern is if the campus people who come directly to the board, if they file a formal grievance or something, and then eventually it makes its way up there, then they've really circumvented the process. To me, I mean, they need to go. Like, I don't think Shirley wants, I'm using Shirley because she's honest at school. I don't think Shirley necessarily wants a bunch of teachers coming to Nancy Beeman to solve the problems before they've gone to their principal or to the executive director.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong.
No, I think you're exactly right. I think that each level has to be given the opportunity to correct the problem, and you go to the next level if you didn't get resolution at that level. So if it's a teacher or teacher assistant or secretary at the campus level, they have to first try to resolve that with their principal. If they can't get resolution there, then they come to my office and proceed on up, and hopefully, you know, they can get resolution at the first level, because ultimately that's what's going to have to carry out whatever the decision is made in there.
I have to think about, because, you know, with Shirley, as you use Shirley's example, you have those, I guess it goes back to effective leadership in resolving issues and getting those issues solved, so they never get to the board member. And so I know, like Ms. Newsom, in her district, a lot of issues never get. But in other areas, you hear about, you know, you walk in a meeting, you get bombarded with issues, because I don't think people are, I mean, it goes back to leadership saying, I'm going to take care of these issues. People, when they're not heard or feel like they're being heard or their issues are resolved as a parent or whatever, that's when they start looking for just somebody to help them with their issue.
What if we build some sort of metric around that so that it becomes an evaluation of an aspect of that particular employee's leadership? So that you're talking about managerial employees, so you can, for example, see how many complaints that rise to that employee, but then how many complaints keep going up. So because it would strike me that you could use that as an evaluative mechanism that would work system-wide.
Is that part of the is there something in the 3R evaluation that could address things that what Mike is talking about? something about communication or?
Yeah, well, in the principal's evaluation, there's a whole segment on communication, working with the public, that kind of thing.
Okay.
One of the things I think that we need to look at in terms of having concerns, there's a difference between having concerns raised.
Right.
Because somebody may be pushing the envelope to get things better.
Right.
And so, it's always, you have to look at all of the concerns in the context of the situation, and not just assume because a lot of folks may be getting a lot of concerns raised that they aren't doing the job that they need to be doing, which is providing that school for kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I think,
Yeah, I think
there's no,
I think it's an issue with resolution of the concerns, which is what Trustee
We get
Neville.
to the third level agreement,
Yeah.
because some of the third level agreements can need to be resolved at the first level agreement with the principal or.
Probably most of them, in my opinion. Claudia and then Bruce.
Well, I just wanted to remind us that our schools also have faculty advisory committees, which I found always to be very helpful. And so, those are also still in existence, I believe, where we have teacher reps meeting with principals to talk about concerns openly and collectively.
I don't know, Claudia, because when I was a band teacher at Harris Stone under Miss Newsom, my first year, my first day, they said, you're going to be the FAC rep.
oh, that's absolutely
They put a rookie to work with Miss Newsom. They're new to it. You do anything.
But we do expect that the teachers will elect their representatives.
Right. And they did, and they gave me their thoughts, and Miss Newsom said, don't bring anything by word, she said, put it in writing, and I put it in writing. I gave it to her ahead of time, and when we got to the meeting, she had an answer. We got everything done in a very concise, brief meeting. We said, yes, no, maybe, okay. We got it. But I appreciate it, Ms. Newsom. Bruce?
We talked about, are we talking about communication and dialogue from the ground up? Because what is December, I'll be here 2 years as a trustee. Obviously, I've spent a lot of time paying attention before that, but the biggest problem I'm finding from parents and employees is that there's no communication, and even when they do attempt, it seems like it can be frauded. In other words, in such a way that they don't get a situation resolved. And the same thing when it comes to teachers. Sometimes they're afraid to bring certain things up that there will be some repercussions depending on that particular school. That's the biggest complaint I get as a trustee. And even with the one school that I had so much fun with this last year, I found out that there were, I think, 4 or 5 science teachers or something that they were short. And nobody told me about that. And, they wonder why things aren't working at the school. So, I mean, the biggest thing I see is we've got to have communications open and willing to listen whether we want to hear it or not, and then try to resolve it, and not pretend that there's not a problem if nobody brings it up.
Well, what I would say is that the fact that a school is short 4 science teachers, that should really never be arriving at my desk.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Because
it was never corrected.
The organization should be resolving that completely independent. What we need to know at the trustee level is if there's some sort of systemic failure, so that consistently schools are understaffed in positions. But any individual school that is understaffed is obviously going to have performance problems. We have 225 schools. There's no way for us to track that and do something about it. Hell, none of us are paid, and we're all part-time volunteers.
But what I'm saying is, obviously, the communication didn't go anywhere, and of course, in my opinion, that was the principal who failed to.
Or it could be human resources.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
Right, and so, I think that at the board level, I think it's important for us to look at those kinds of indicators. So, for example, unfilled positions on campuses, period. If you have a report on the days of unfilled positions across the district,
that can provide us some insight as to systemically, do we have a problem filling these positions? And that then management can then react to that and look into HR issues or specific senior ED issues or wherever the problem within the organization is. But I don't think that we can't begin to isolate the problem at a specific campus. We've got to figure out some way of turning that into an oversight report that we can then hold the superintendent accountable for and have the superintendent attempt to resolve.
And if I may make a comment, a lot of the issues this year, we were in a unique position that hopefully we won't have again, but a lot of the vacancies and those sort of concerns this year, we were in a situation with budget. And so when there were vacancies, we weren't allowed to fill those because we were on a freeze.
And I think
so hopefully that won't occur anymore because all of that has been worked out.
To your point on communication, so to understand if there are vacancies and if there are extremely large number of days where positions remain unfilled, we understand why that is.
Well, keep in mind as a board, we can redirect money if it's necessary. So I mean, if it's not brought to our attention, we can't make any changes. I mean, again, it's back to communication. It's back to having a dialogue that we really have a pulse on what's going on in these schools.
Well, and from an oversight perspective, I think it's important for us to develop the mechanisms, or have at least management recommend to us the mechanisms where we have the most important information on this. For example, I haven't seen a report since I've been on the board, but I've only been here since May, related to the number of days positions remain unfilled. And when I think about that for teaching positions and principal positions, that's a pretty important metric. That doesn't get to sort of quality of the bodies that may be hired or not hired, but that does give an indication as to maybe there's some sort of systemic weakness in addressing open positions. Because I mean, you can't teach a kid if you don't have a good teacher in the classroom. So
Dr. Blackburn, are we jumping to number 6 right now for discussion of personnel matters?
No, I really don't want to. I'm trying to get back to this. What I want to get to right now is more of an ownership. Now, if the EDs already have something in place with your area, that's fine. I'm just simply saying, occasionally invite a board member. If there's something we can do to break down the intimidation factor, let us know. And if it's just a matter of y'all just need to not show up, we just need to not show up. I'm mainly interested in the information flowing from the classroom or from the community up. And Claudia and maybe Dino, if there's some kind of way you guys could let us know when things start to bubble, boiling, so they can kind of get to the board so that we can, if we need to get involved, then we will. And if there's a policy change we need to make, a budgetary constraint, or whatever it may be, maybe you guys can just kind of get it to our attention. Mainly just opening up lines of communication. And trustees, I'm also asking that when we have meetings, and usually when I have a community meeting, I try to invite somebody from the administration. If it's dealing with the bond, I invite Phil, and sometimes he shows, sometimes he sends other people who have more day-to-day workings with it. If it has something to do with academics, at the time I would invite Yvonne, but she would always send somebody that would address the area that was going to be on the agenda. So that way we can get some answers right then. People will find out, parents and community will find out from the administration that is working closely with that area. So they can get some answers. That's my main point, just breaking down the communication barrier so we can let the flow of information come up. The community commissions. I want to spend a little bit of time with this before we go on to our next agenda item. And this is as far as we want to go with this today. On the commissions, I gave you a little write-up. There was one that talked about, maybe the second page write-up, where it talks about community commissions. I'm trying to give more information about what I'm looking for. And overall, I'm looking for these commissions to be groups of people that are looking for something different from what we're already doing. As far as Blue Ribbon, I don't know that we have I don't know that we're using all of the best strategies, all of the best programs, all of the best systems, all of the best process. I don't know that we use all of the best of any of those. But I know that other school districts are doing some things. I know Shirley was telling me about when they were doing some background work for the Obama school. They visited several places, and she was telling me about all the ideas, and I'm like, man, we should have known about that for some other schools. So, not that we need to get on the plane and start doing a whole lot of traveling, but I want those commissions to find other things that other districts are doing or corporations are doing. As far as the star employee, we may talk to Southwest Airlines, see what is it that they do to keep their employees all pumped up. What is it that the Container Store is doing to keep their employees feeling like this is one of the best companies to work for? You know, I'm not really looking for a star employee to say, okay, this is how we're going to evaluate our teachers. That's just part of it. I want our employees to want to work for Dallas ISD. I want when Mayor Rollins finds someone to pay for a sign on I-30 and I-45 and 35 about Dallas ISD, that someone may think, I want to work for Dallas ISD. Instead of when they see the sign, they see Mesquite ISD, and they say, I want to work for Mesquite. Or if they come in on 67 or 20, I want to work for Duncanville. I'm just looking for the employee that will want to work for us, will do a great job for us because they like working for Dallas ISD. They like the environment. They like working with the students. They like working with the parents. Just break out of the box. Okay, I'm not really looking for strategies per se to help out with the district improvement plan that we still need to work on. I'm trying to look beyond this year. Look into next year. What can we do throughout this year to find ways to make sure we have the best employees starting 2012-13? Because we already put some things in place right now. I'm not saying to stop what you're doing and start all over. Just look ahead. The Blue Ribbon Education, what programs are working in New York or Los Angeles or Miami or Las Vegas or wherever it may be that we have not tried? But it may take us some time to start planning for it, to put it into place. What are ways that community groups are able to facilitate relationships with each other or with other communities? How can we learn from them as far as working with our neighborhood associations, our fraternities, sororities, and how they can help out, church groups, any other group? How can we best involve the city council, let's say? Or how can we best involve the chambers? You know, we have more than one chamber in Dallas. You know, the black chamber doesn't want to be left out. The Hispanic chamber doesn't want to be left out. The Asian chamber doesn't want to be left out. And we have a lot of Southwest Dallas, Southeast Dallas. We have a West Dallas. How can we get all of those people helping us? But I don't want to sit around and think about, okay, here's what we can do. Go out and talk to them. Call them up. Invite them in to talk to us about how they maintain these relationships. Okay, the financial stewardship, we already have that in place. I'm sorry.
Before you go on, because I think there are a lot of great people that want to work for Dallas ISD. But I think until we get our customer service and the gateway that opens into Dallas ISD, and I'm going to throw human resources under the bus here, because I cannot tell you the number of war stories I hear about people, great people, who are trying to get in to the district, but because the process is so cumbersome. And I think that we've got to get a top-notch, efficient human resources department. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. We're losing a lot of people because it takes too long for people to go through the process, and in the meantime, and maybe we don't start early enough. And I realize, as Regina said, this was a year that was different because we did have the hiring freeze on. But in the years past, we have waited really late in the year to start our hiring process. College kids, they want to know where that check is going to come from to start paying off those loans. and they want to know before July. But I think we've got to do something with human resources, because that is truly the entry gate into this system.
And that goes back to the store employee. That may be a topic that they could work on. What's keeping us from getting those store employees? Why can't we why can't we recruit teachers from Mesquite? Why can't we recruit teachers from Plano or Richardson? You know, I think some of them might come work for us if
I
things
think
were
some
different.
of them want to come work for us, but they can't get through the gate.
Well, who's the gatekeeper?
Human
Louise, who's the
resources.
gatekeeper? Okay. I don't know. Maybe we need to look at the system that we have in place. I don't know. Maybe we need to look at the people. I don't know. But that may be one aspect that we need to look at. How do we make it easier and quicker to get people in? On that same, on the other opposite end of that, how do we have room? How do we make sure we have room for those good teachers to come in? Which makes you to work on those people that are not doing a great job. You know, those people that are not doing a great job can do just as bad a job as whatever other things might be in place.
And I'd like to just point out just an example that I heard this week, and it absolutely just blew my mind. But one of the things that I heard this week, I know that we are on, and I know this is number 6 on our agenda, but I just want to throw this out. You know, we have Region 10, the Teacher Job Network, where principals can go in and they can see the applicants, they can do a search and all this. And I can't tell my source, but we have principals in this district, and I hope every executive director here does something about this, who don't know how to use the Teacher Job Network. And that just made my skin crawl, because this is the process where they can go online, they can look at resumes, they can see how many teachers are certified in certain areas.
Just the Region 10 network?
Yes, that we go through. And so I'm thinking, do we just need to do a simple cheat sheet that says, first do this, how to get into the network? That if we've got principals who are the guiding force of our schools who do not know how to use this Teachers Job Network, we're in big trouble. This is technology.
She brings something up I want to ask her, are we having problems with principals? Like, I know you have problems with teachers having the learning curve when it comes to using computers and the software and internet. What is our situation with the principals? I mean, are the principals just relying on their staff to, or do we have?
Don't know.
You brought that up.
And that's still part of our store employees. It's not just teachers. We're talking about principals, we're talking about teacher assistants, custodians, cafeteria workers, central office folks. We may need to do some work with we do need to do work with all levels. But I know Louise and Claudia are taking notes. They're looking at each other like, oh, what the world are they talking about? Or they're saying that, yeah, we might need to tighten that up. That's why I say it may not all be people, it might also be the system or the process we need to look at. At work, we have a retreat every year to look at how well we do things, or not. And we talk about how we can be more efficient. This may be something that they could work on.
Yes. Let me ask you this, in HR, are they trained to be courteous and kind of customer service when it comes to the new people coming in looking for work, or is it just a big bureaucratic, here's the paper, fill it out? And, I mean, what goes on in HR that? Now, Bruce, let me go over and help you out. From the store employee standpoint, and depending on what time of the year.
Hold me down, Dr. Blackburn.
It's June and July and August. HR is so inundated, and so that's why I say you have
even the treatment training.
I know.
If you can't do the job, don't do it.
I know.
I mean, that's what you're hired for, customer service. So, is it, you inundated in July and 1,000.
I can hear Claudia thinking.
Accountability.
Give us more help. Give us more help.
Accountable, but yet you're making excuses for them.
Claudia saying, give us more help. Louise is saying, give us more help in this crunch time.
No, teachers are going to have to teach 26 kids in the classroom, and what help are you giving them? We're gonna have to deal with less.
I'm holding her to the debt.
Deal with less in this budget price. Get your personnel.
We'll get together, Brenda.
Pay bills.
Back to the commissions. Who's on that commission? Who did I ask to help out with? Nancy and Edwin. Edwin just being quiet. Edwin said, okay, we got this under control. We're going to get this. We're going to get this. You know, we're going to get this. Edwin, who were the administrators that we asked to help out?
I believe it's Regina.
Regina and Deidre. You guys, okay. So, y'all just go ahead and start working on when you're going to get together. Yes, ma'am.
I just have to give a plug for Robert Henry in HR. He works very, very well with all the principals in the Southeast, and particularly the new principals, and showing them how to access systems. So I do think it is that we do have the structure in place, particularly from Lisa's folks. And so I just wouldn't want everybody to think that that is not happening, because I do know that it's happening with the principals in Southeast, and that Robert Henry in HR is a very, very excellent supporter to make sure that they are able to access the system. And to your question, Mr. Perry, all of the principals in Southeast and the rest can attest this for theirs as well. They're very technologically savvy and use technology a great deal.
Yeah. Now, I understand chiefs and executive directors,
on all that they have to do.
Board members hear a lot of negative things. Adam, I don't know how many positive comments you get from people, but most of what I hear is negatives. If I hear from a parent, it's because somebody did them wrong. If I hear from a student or a teacher, they're mad. So understand from where we come. We're coming from the standpoint, we hear all this negative stuff, and I appreciate it. We don't hear a whole lot. We don't hear a lot of good things now. We're expecting, chiefs and executive director. We're expecting you guys to kind of tell us some good things that's going on, because
I think the term is we're the lightning rod.
Yeah, we become a lightning rod. We need to kind of calm ourselves down. Yeah. You're right, Edward. I'm glad you mentioned that, because sometimes I can hear a negative, and I say, okay, I hear this side, now I need to go find out what the other side is talking about. And sometimes they tell me about something, like I got a call yesterday. The teacher said that her classroom was hot. And so I said, she was trying to work in the classroom, and the principal just said, just get a box fan. She said, I want my room to be cool. I'm trying to get my room together, and it's cool. It's hot. I said, so when are teachers supposed to report to work? And she said the 15th. So I said, well, I think it'll be cool by the 15th. But I'm trying to work in my room now. The teacher doesn't care about the principal doesn't care about me. I said, I think I asked, I said, how about the other rooms? Is that the only room that's hot? She said, yes. Now, the other side of me said, how can we cool an entire school and leave only one classroom hot? So, trustees, we have to kind of, put things into perspective. I just told the teachers, call me back on the 15th. If it's still hot, only in your classroom on the 15th, I think it's you that's hot. You just mad at the principals. But I listen to those things and I let them go. But going back to the commissions, trustees, I am asking you to appoint one person to each of these. I want you to, well, we already have the financial taken care of, unless you're going to make some changes in your appointee. I'm deciding to leave mine in place. But I'm asking, Mike, if you can appoint one person to the Blue Ribbon, another person to the Star employee, another person to the community, appoint somebody to each of those. And I'm asking you to appoint somebody who's going to come to the table looking for great ideas. I'm not really wanting these commissions to be sitting around, we just bashing about what is and what was and what used to be. I want you to focus on what can be. I want them to, everybody that's coming to the table, all 9 and 10, I think, Alan, you're going to have an appointee also. All 10 members focusing on how can we have the best educational system. what's the best teaching strategies, the best programs, the best whatever it is that's going to help our kids do better. Okay, Edwin?
Yeah, I was going to suggest or recommend that in addition to the 9 trustee appointees, the administration, that maybe each one of these should have a member or two that's actually an expert. So, for example, for the one having to do with the star employee, you know, if I could borrow the person who's the head of human resources at the 3 entities in Dallas that year after year, maybe a nonprofit or for-profit or something, that year after year get best in employee relations, and those are, the list is available.
Right.
I know Medical City has won it several times.
As a matter of fact, what I said last time is appoint experts. If you know,
in addition to the people, because I always appoint somebody from my community, a parent, but I also, and I would appoint somebody who's an expert in that, but I would also think that to help guide each of these, if there were 1 or 2 other folks on there that are really, truly.
Last time we had talked about, you and Mike were not here last time, in this I said appoint 2 members, and one might be a community person, the other might be an expert. But then we start talking about this might be too large of a group.
I agree that that's.
What I would tell you is the only way that I'm going to appoint a parent from my neighborhood to the Gold Star Employee Commission is if that parent happens to be the Director of Human Resources for Texas Instruments.
Well,
So,
could I make a?
And my appointee, just so you know, may not be from District 5.
right, exactly.
I'm looking for experts.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I'm looking for an expert.
I
Yes.
know we want to keep it, we said 10, I believe that's what Alan said, is a good number to work with. And I don't know if I necessarily, I mean, I'm sure I could find somebody to put on these, a warm body, but I would really like to, I'm just wondering if maybe we could come up with a list
Right.
of people and then say, I'm like, okay, you know, I'm not sure if I've got somebody who would qualify or who really was an expert in the financial stewardship. And so there's this list of professionals that I say, okay, I would like to get this person as my appointee. And
Well, and I agree. I think that if we can get a list, but then,
I mean, we still talk to them, it's our choice.
yeah.
I mean, it's not like we're blindly doing this, but I would like to have a pot that I could choose from, so to speak, on some of these, because they are very technical. And
I have to
the other thing is,
if you're running short on somebody, Mike might know somebody.
well, also, we're going to have to, whoever we appoint, hopefully will take the time. I mean, again, back to the commission we put together for the budget, those people put in humongous hours, and the good news is they were dedicated.
Yes.
And they literally went out and beyond the call of duty, in my opinion. So it'd be nice if we can get people like that on.
I understand most of them came just about every meeting.
Right.
If I'm right.
Yes.
Okay.
But I would be open to choosing from a
List.
list that has some very.
We don't, you know, some of us don't have access to, you know, some of the resources or the people, you know.
Well, and for instance, in the southern sector where I'm from, the southeast sector, we don't have a lot of businesses. So if I were looking for somebody who had some human resources expertise, I'm not going to find it in my elected district.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's what I say. For me, each of these may not have someone from District 5. I'm looking for an expert. I may choose somebody from SMU, let's say, to help us out on the Blue Ribbon. I may choose somebody, like I said, I mentioned Southwest Airlines, and I mentioned Container Store because people, they tend to be in that group of the best companies to work for. So that may be a source where I say for a star employee, I want to find somebody that's over HR, that's over, I think Southwest doesn't call it human resources. People, they have a different kind of title to it, but I would go to somebody like that and say, would you mind helping us by serving on this committee? Now, I may get a few no's, or I don't have that much time, then I'll say, well, can you recommend someone else? And then you get to know who's out there. It's like cold calling, sales call. If you've ever done that, I don't know.
No.
It's awesome, I recommend it.
That's like I was going to ask you, who will be the convener of each of these committees? I'm the liaison for the Blue Ribbon, with Ms. Nuttall and Mr. Parrott, will they be the conveners? No, you will.
Now, I'm asking administration to be the
Oh.
conveners.
Oh, I thought these commissions were gonna have like the chair, like the budget commission.
They will, but see, well, you're right. Once we bring them all together, Alan, once we get all of our appointees, Alan, Ann, or I, or some kind of way, we're going to end up choosing a chair. That chair will call the meeting. I see what you mean.
Yeah, that was my
Yeah,
question.
I'm sorry.
If we could get some dates now.
I was trying to put you to work.
Well, I'm already at work.
Okay.
But it would be helpful whenever you contact the folks that you're asking to serve, if you have your meeting scheduled, so they will know what time commitment you're asking of them. And I know for Cindy, I'll speak with me and Cindy, it would be helpful for us to be able to post our calendars as well so that we can carve out the time to work on this.
How about if the administration liaisons get together, like you and Cindy, tell us what's going to be the best day of the month or whatever it may be for you to meet?
Okay, so you're looking for a monthly meeting? That's
Yeah,
what
monthly.
I'm trying to get.
I'm looking for monthly.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, so if the administration, if you guys can work together to find out what's going to be the best day of the week, day of the month for you to meet, I don't know, first Monday, second Monday, whatever. I tend to schedule my community meetings on a Tuesday.
And then
But
it's like part of
that's
that,
just,
and Bruce knows, and
Right.
four of us will determine the date. Okay.
does that sound like it might work for everyone?
I'd just
Alan?
add that you're not gonna know how often these groups wanna meet until you get them together.
Right.
First time.
And once they establish their goals and what they're looking at, like the budget commission, we met weekly.
Yeah, but just, okay. Okay, but just give them an idea. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the other thing is that, some of this stuff, for example, I'm thinking of the work of the Gold Star Employee Commission. You can't really make recommendations in the abstract. You have to see how the operation functions currently and figure out what kind of process changes and what sort of policy changes. And I mean, HR is the most complicated animal on earth. So, when I think about this, this is not something that's conducive to a one-hour meeting where people just sit and chat. You kind of have to talk to employees and sort of watch certain things. So I think we should give these folks relatively free rein to explore the operation however they want to.
Same we did with the budget commission. I don't want it, from your standpoint, Mike, I don't want anybody to be constrained to one particular peephole. I really do want you to break out the box, learn about what we're doing, because you may go out and find something that sounds great, and we're already doing it, but board members just don't know about it. So help us out with this. I think this will work. It's going to be a lot of work, and Edwin doesn't have a whole lot of time, but I think he'll add on to his volunteer work with the district to help out with this. And just so you know, trustees, I've appointed people to these commissions because of what I've heard you talk about the most over the last few years. I've heard Edwin talk about employees, appraisals and blah, 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 all these times. So that's why I appointed certain people to certain commissions, because of what I have heard you talk about the most, or what you talk to me about the most. Now, if I have added you to a commission that you don't think you feel comfortable with, let me know. You can trade with someone else, whatever it may be. The district enhancement, and it's more of a trustee thing. I really want trustees to look at having a group of experts come together as an advisory to the board to say, we see you guys online at the meetings. We hear about what you're doing, and we hear about things that are coming up from 35 to 50 mile high view. Here's what we think you guys should be focusing on. They may say, Mike, we're looking at too much detailed stuff. You need to back up and look at it from a more broader perspective.
So get out of the weeds.
Yeah. And so I'm looking for these, and I'm looking for maybe CEOs, some of the top level corporate people It may be a corporate person that's dealing with HR, somebody that knows about real estate, somebody that knows about finance, somebody that knows something about maybe zoning, or just people that have some expertise that can help us look at everything from a broader perspective and hopefully keep us focused on the big picture and not just the little picture.
Is this what the new mayor is talking about, Mike Ron?
We've talked, and we have some similar ideas on this. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just wondering if
We've talked about this, and he is willing to help us on this portion of the district enhancement council, or whatever we may call it. Because I talked to him about, he knows a lot of people in corporate America, and other people know other folks. So, so this is more of a board member thing. It's not really involved in the administration, other than I would like for the chiefs to be involved so that you can know what we're being told, and we let it flow down to you guys. That's the intent. Well, you're thinking, Alan.
Well, I'm thinking the word experts has everybody a little confused too, because like if you look at the budget group, we had probably more, CTA people and more lawyers than we had financial experts. But the main thing is they all knew the problems of the district, and they knew where they wanted the district to go. So if you have a few experts and a good mix of it, it will work.
I think it'll work out that way, because board members, I think, like Nancy would mention, she might appoint somebody from the community, and that's fine. I think we'll end up with a little bit of a mixture of grassroots people and experts. Okay, as long as we're working towards the same thing. Regina, your thoughts?
we have a plan.
We have a plan. Okay. Well, good. Any other thoughts?
You were talking about 10.
10.
I've got 5 commissions.
No, 10 appointees.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Oh. You want me to add 5 more? No, 10 appointees,
Okay.
9 trustees, and then one
gotcha.
superintendent.
All right.
So I was just going to point out, we put together these commissions, and relatively speaking, I think we've been fairly successful with them. It's just, I think it's important. One thing we learned from Dallas Chiefs was it's important to set the expectations that these folks need to understand that these are recommendations, that the board would need to approve them, that their hard work is greatly appreciated, but just because everything doesn't get, and that I don't know if you expect these to end after their work is done.
I'm thinking, well, my thinking is that we'll go for a year. Maybe by mid-year, January, we'll have some preliminary recommendations. Kind of like with the chief, Dallas Chief, we had a first set of recommendations and came with another set. So my thinking is by the end of the year, we'll have enough information that we can either start implementing something next year, or at least starting to put it into place.
Right. I mean, I guess my concern is just that the folks who we invite, who are going to work very hard, and have done so, and at least with the Budget Commission, when they're continuing on, but that they know what to expect, that they know that their work is recommendations, that the trustees take it very seriously, and that's why we put them, but that it's going to sunset, and these are going to be reports, but hopefully the trustees will look at these reports and start working on them one by one. I know that, certainly it's my intent to continue to look at the recommendations from the Budget Commission and see, well, what else do we need to do? Because, we've done a couple other things, but they recommended a lot of stuff. And then some stuff may not work out, or just may not be politically viable, or maybe a compromise, but they need to understand that they're working on something, and they're working on recommendations, and that we fully intend to follow those recommendations, but they're going to end, and that their work is still just advisory.
Okay, last few comments before we take a break, because last time you guys got on me because I forgot about breaks. Adam and then Bruce.
For the Star Employee Commission, is there a way we can, I guess that would be the town manager, bring in employees to see what they think. How we can help them? Start off that way first before we.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know if we have one on the committee, but get their input.
But that's similar to what Mike was saying, you know, allow other people to come in and give us information about the district.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Focus groups. You can't do it without talking to employees.
That's pretty much what I was going to ask is, are we going to allow employees or teachers to be part of this commission, these commissions? I do know that I did hear...
appointee or?
Well, we don't, that's not either. We want to discuss it. Do we want them as an appointee? Do we want to... Again, I think anything we can get from the teachers is going to be beneficial, at least from their perspective. I do know that I've heard from different people that they would like on the budget commission, for example, at least have somebody represented from the teachers group so they can be involved with the dialogue.
You can be your
So, I mean, it's just something that, do we need to discuss that? Is that something we want to do? Do we want to, I mean, obviously, these are the people who are doing the job.
Right now, we have it set up so that each trustee will appoint one person.
That's it.
So you can appoint it.
You can appoint that person if you wanted to, because you're appointed.
Yeah, I think that would probably be pretty wise for the employee commission, given some of these employee organizations represent help set that employees.
Well, that's why I was wondering, do we want to have a member, you know, as a member rather than just being appointed by a trustee?
I think that's wise.
But then you get into, you've got a bigger committee.
No, I'm not talking about, yeah, I'm talking about, we're talking about one extra committee member, you know, that will make a decision.
I know you make an exception on one committee, and then you got another.
Every group's on one.
But how do we get information from them? I mean, that's,
All the other trustees and say, hey, did you appoint somebody? Did you appoint somebody?
But the commission, let's say on the Star Employee Commission, you know, they can come to the meeting, and I think there may be.
no, I understand that. I understand that. I'm just saying that, you know, I don't want, you know, one of the biggest problems we have is when we decide to make a decision, especially when it comes to the employees, they'll come back if it's something that they're not aware of, or it's something that they find out that they don't like. We find out on the back end, or we find out the day before the vote. So again, I'm just saying, how much input do we want to be able to make the right decision? That's all. I mean, I'm not. I'm a radical when it comes to dialogue.
Each commission needs to spread it wide. Call in people that you need. Call in teachers. Call in principals. Call in clerical people if you need to. Call in people to find out what is it they would like to see. What is it they don't like about Dallas ISD. You know, you have to talk to people. And so you shouldn't just talk to just one group. We're talking about employees from all up and down, all 20, how many thousand people? 22, 25, if you call it. You count the substitutes. We have a lot of employees. So I'm talking about, I'm not just saying start teacher employees. Start time when, you know, Nancy and Edwin might say, okay, we need to talk to teachers. We need to talk to teacher assistants. We need to talk to principals, assistant principals, whatever it may be. Pigeonhole. Come out of that pigeonhole. Okay? Now, Ms. Newsom reminded me last time that we need to take a break. See, when I was a college professor, we didn't take breaks. I just kept talking. If you needed to take a break, you just left out. And don't come back and ask me what I just said. But we'll take a break and I won't talk about anything. How about that? Thanks. 5-minute break.
You sure you're gonna miss your party?
Yeah. Listen. One of the things that I learned to do when I was a teacher was to say things maybe 3 times before the students finally catch on. And sometimes I need to hear things 3 times before I finally catch on. So this is the 3rd time that I'm talking about this. I'm going to do it a 4th time too, just to make sure I understand what I think I want. Huh?
I'm not doing it again today.
Yeah. Just for clarification about the briefing chairs. we have an agenda item on for Thursday at the briefing. I can't remember the policies. Is it BE local?
BE local.
BE local. Because our policy says that we shall have the business and then the person and the policy and the education briefing. I would like for us to change that policy, either to include these or to not be so structured, so that we have the option to do something different. This is what I'm talking about. But this is where I'm going for this year anyway. You know, next year it might all change, but this is where I'm going for this year. The governance chair, co-chairs as Adam and Carla, I'm asking them to focus on policies related to A, B, and G. You have the board policies, board operating type policies, and the G policies I think are related to community relations, public relations type things. And the business briefing, I'm asking you to attend to things related to the C policies. And the personnel briefing. Somebody's cell phone is talking. The personnel briefing is where we deal with personnel issues and the D policies. And the education briefing is where we deal with, of course, curriculum and instruction and also school operations. And if I recall, E is our set of policies dealing with instruction, and F, if I'm not mistaken, is dealing with school operations. So this is my little simple way of lining this up. Going by policies. Boards look at policies. We need to know that whatever you guys are doing, that they relate to our policies. If we need to change our policies to fit the practice or the procedures, then we need to do that. But I lined it up according to the sections in the policies. So board members, I'm trying to get us to be focused on one particular area. Carla and Adam, I need you to be experts on the governance. Make sure that the rest of the board learn everything we need to know about the governance. Mike and Eric, I need you guys, I saw Eric, there he is. I need you guys to make sure that we stay focused on the business side, the operations, the bonding, the finance, and everything else dealing with the business side of the district. I need you guys to be our experts and help us to understand what's going on. Edwin and Nancy, you need to become our experts on personnel matters. Any policies related to personnel, you're going to hear and see those policies before the rest of the board sees them. And Bernadette and Bruce, you will attend to the education briefing dealing with the policies in E and F. But I want you to become experts, trustees, in those particular areas so that other board members tend to rely on you, Nancy. We're going to rely on you and to tell us about the personnel matters. Bernadette, I'm expecting her to be so focused on education, school operations, that she doesn't have time to understand about personnel. Otherwise, she might say, but in order to make things flow better, I need to talk to Nancy and Edwin about personnel matters. So we may still talk to each other, but I want you to become experts in this particular area. And I know, Alan, you don't like that word experts, but I want us to try to become experts. Okay? Yes.
Just a question. It might almost be a housekeeping question. The policy charged the board president and superintendent with placing things on the agenda. And we usually, in legal and the various views of departments, will set the policies just to make sure they're not conflicting or they're okay with the law. Is that still going to apply?
I think I want that to still stay in place. What I am doing is asking, for instance, if anything related to personnel, if someone wants that to be on the agenda, you know, Al and I might be the final say-so, but I want to make sure that Edwin and Nancy knows about it. I want to make sure that they are aware of what's going on. Anything related to education, the curriculum instruction, or school operation, I want Bernadette and Bruce to know about it.
I guess I was a little worried about our office getting
No,
policies coming
it'll
in.
still flow up. I am sharing leadership, if you want to call it that. I am sharing leadership. Like I say, I want Carla and Adam to be the experts on our governance structure. So anything that the administration has in mind that you would like to see change, I would like it to go through Carla and Adam first. When you have your monthly meetings, talk to them about it first. Because when you come to me, and I'm trying to set up a little system for myself so that when you send the the draft agenda to me, I'm going to look at each section and say, Adam, Carla, have y'all discussed this? Edwin, Nance, have y'all discussed this? Because if you didn't discuss it in your little meeting, then we're kind of missing a step. I want trustees to hear about it individually before we hear about it collectively.
So our roles in each of these sort of briefing chairs is to help facilitate communication with the rest of the board on that particular topic area.
Right.
So that, you know, if for example, this policy CW, which governs school names and portions of names, if we wanted to change that, you know, me and Eric sort of lead the charge on that, and then when it comes to the board briefing, we would just sort of lead the discussion about that policy.
Right.
But it wouldn't preclude either Eric or I from, say, taking an interest in an education policy. But what we would want to do is we would want to work with Bernadette and Bruce about our issues associated with that. Or if there's like policy AE, for example, which I'm interested in taking a look at, I'd want to work closely with Adam and Carla on about those policies.
Right. You got it. Yes.
So for business, we know that the contact for administration is the CFO. For personnel, it's the chief of staff. For education, it's our chief academic officer and our chief of schools officer. Okay.
But I just want to make clear, it's still the board president is setting the agenda, correct?
Right.
Okay.
It goes through the briefing chair
To the board president.
to the board president.
But I'm emphasizing that because I want you to talk to the chairs before you ask me, put it on the agenda. Because if I see something that I hadn't heard anybody talk about, I'm going to call Bernadette and say, well, Bernadette, did you know anything about blah, blah, blah? And if she says she knows nothing about it, then I'm going to say, okay, let's go back and find out what's going on. Do we really need to go on right now, or can it wait? So I am asking the administration to work with the chairs and co-chairs of each of these briefings. Now, I think you guys have a SIRE calendar of as to when things need to get put in or something along that line?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mike and Bernadette have already scheduled their monthly meetings at a time that it's going to happen before something starts the SIRE process.
SIRE is due the Tuesday, and I think our meeting is the Tuesday before SIRE is due. Is yours still on Tuesday at 11?
Yeah, mine's just right after yours.
And I'm at 10 on that same Tuesday.
So yours is at 10,
Mike's
you're at
at
11. So
So
it's possible that somebody else's could be at 9.
Yeah, 9 or 12 or worse.
The reason I say this is because when I talked to Faye, she was asking how can she keep up with all the policy changes. So, trustees, if you can kind of find out what day of the month that Bruce, Mike and Bernadette have already scheduled their meetings. See if it'll work.
I would-
Like a memo on.
I have a memo for all the dates up until May the 15th.
Okay, just share it with all the trustees.
All the meeting dates.
Because
Yeah, what they cost.
I know when I was over the business, half the time I was doing it by phone. And I think Edwin does that sometimes. So what they would do is just send me the agenda. We just go through it, you know, quick, 15, 30 minutes max. I go back to work, they go back to work. So that could be a way to do that.
So really, I want to make sure it's clear in my mind.
Okay.
For the August, we've already got our agenda for August.
Right.
It's got policy, business, and
Right.
education.
Same setup.
All right, but in September, if we change this policy, would it be governance, business?
That's when it would change, in September.
Okay.
You You see it in stumbling blocks? So we have to get the policy changed first before we can move to
Yeah,
this.
I see. I just want to make sure there's not
Thursday's meeting's going to be the same format that we've always done.
up until the different.
Right.
Right.
Right. Okay?
So everybody's going to be doing policy.
Right.
Yeah. Just focus on your little section.
And, you know, and I just want to kind of remind everybody that Faye is our attorney that we work through to vet and review the policies as we're changing them. And Jack, we really still need to continue that process so that once we make the changes, it goes to legal and comes back out. So.
And that's part of the reason for trying to get all of those meetings on the same day, because they can just go from one meeting to the next on that one day, hear about all the policy revisions, and it still flows through the legal department.
It does take her, it takes her some time on each of these.
Okay.
She's very careful, very thorough.
Yeah, she's very good at that.
And if we can have, I mean, we've had, there have been board operating procedures that said we'd have 10 days before the meeting that when they were placed on the agenda, if we can continue to have enough time.
I think we're consistent with that 10-day
I think
window
so.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, so whatever calendar that that you have, I'm not sure who.
They're making copies of it.
Oh, okay, that way all the chairs can meet on on that day, either in person or by conference.
Just to follow up one thing, I'm sorry I'm talking too much, but it's good to have one person do this, because that way, when she sees all the policies, she can make sure that they're consistent and they conform and change.
Absolutely. Oh,
We'll always forward our stuff directly to Faye, basically.
yeah. That's not changing.
Okay.
So, yes.
Who is the, I guess, chief or liaison for governance? Did we say?
Is it the Sue?
Because
Yes, it would be the suit. It's a governance and public community relations. Will that work?
fine.
Unless Lisa wants to take it on.
She's on it.
Okay, Lisa turned it down, so Al, I guess that leaves you.
I'll find a place.
I appreciate it. Okay, so Alan, you will take care of the governance. Business would be Steve Corby, who's handling it right now. That's right. Personnel would be Claudia. I'm sorry, I'm going to see now. And then on education, we're going to have Jackie and Donna. Okay. All right. I believe we have another. Is there any other clarification?
The ad hocs, maybe, just to review those, since I have clarity right now on them.
Ad hocs, we have the standing, the audit committee is not really ad hoc, it's a standing committee. And Eric is chairing that along with Edwin and Mike. On the district interdependent sustainability development, I'm including the president and two vice presidents to work with that group. And school usage is at Nancy and Bernadette and Bruce. And you're the chair.
Was that Phil Jefferson?
Phil, but we're looking at school utilization, whether or not we have maximum utilization of these schools. And I'm saying school, but do we need to include just facilities? Do we need to broaden and say facilities? Because we might have some buildings that could be used for something else.
Mike Brown is still
Yeah, maybe so. So let's just say facility usage. But I do want you guys to look into whether or not we might need to close some schools. We worked on a policy on that. We need to pull it out and dust it off. And
the nice thing about having this at the board level is these are public meetings where you can have public discussions about issues, and that issue in particular is quite, it's a high public interest issue.
in the technology, I'm asking Mike to lead that along with Bernadette, Eric, and Bruce, who also wants to be on that committee.
We actually had our first meeting already.
Good deal. I did see that. Technology, we just want to make sure we have the best use of our technology, make sure we're going in the right direction, looking 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, see what's being developed. If you can talk to Microsoft and Dell and all these other people, see what they're working on so we can get ready for it. We're all going to be in the cloud and the fog and the mist and everything else.
Question.
Yes.
Because we spent the last year working on the charter ad hoc committee, and I don't see that. Are we just going to abandon the charter ad hoc committee, or because we put a lot of work into that?
We do it. We need to get a report from that so we can see where we go from that year's worth of work. So I can do it. Yeah. Okay.
You can combine that with several research for him.
Part of it may have those best practices and missions too, because that charter kind of evolved into just a broad best practice discussion.
I mean, we've talked about a lot of stuff.
So some of it may need to go to different places. Yeah, different places. Okay, next agenda item. Claudia and Alan, you have something you wanted to talk to us about on personnel matters? Dr. Rodriguez. Trustees, be nice.
I ain't scared.
No, I'm good with the mic. Before Luis and I talk about our current vacancies and displaced teachers, I just want to remind everybody and set some context, because I know there was some confusion, because early in the spring our trustees we changed DFF, which is our risk policy, and the criterion for our risk policy can only be implemented when there is a risk declared. And if you recall, performance was one of those discussions at the time and is part of that policy. But that only performance and the questions of performance and how teachers are released based on that, that is only if the Board of Trustees declares a risk. So I wanted to put that on the table and park that for just a minute. Then we come to leveling, and I call it spring leveling and fall leveling. So spring leveling occurs when the district gets, when our schools get their budget worksheets according to staffing formulas and the number of FTEs they get.
And that's based upon estimated fall enrollment.
That is based on projected enrollment numbers. That is correct. So what I call spring leveling occurred very late this year once we approved the 6.1 budget, which was June 23rd. Our spring leveling normally occurs around March. So after the 6.1 budget version was adopted and we looked and the worksheets were given to principals, then our staffing managers in HR have conversations with all of the senior executive directors and principals, and decisions are then made on who is released. And the biggest hit this spring was our secondary schools versus our elementary schools, and all of those released individuals go into a displaced pool. The fact that the budget was so late, the budget version, and because it was so late, our schools had difficult times creating master schedules. So up until even last week, as many of you know, our principals are still dealing with master schedules, and until the principals had an idea of what their master schedule looked like, it was very difficult for them to make decisions on who they needed to release based on their need on their campuses. So we did release people, and we now have a release pool of professionals and at-will, and we have a list of vacancies, professional and at-will. And I'd like to give you a copy of those vacancies and the selected releases, and I know Dino's got them, and he will give them out to you. And then I'm going to turn it over to Luis, because he and I looked at the numbers yesterday morning and brainstormed. And so I would like Luis to go over the sheets just a little bit, and if you would allow us to go over it before we entertain any questions, just so that I can make sure that we put all of the information out on the table. What you're getting, and I didn't staple it so that you could do them side by side, is you have four lists. And at the top of the list, you will see that one is a contract selected releases. So that is those professional employees that have already been selected. They're released, they've already been selected.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Yes, sir.
Is this confidential information or is it not? Because it's written down below that it is confidential information. And,
Well,
and we are in open session.
It is. There are no names on it. It's a draft copy.
Okay.
So I'm okay sharing the numbers.
Okay.
We also have lists of names, and I'm going to hold on to those lists of names until a later date. What's the seat is? What's the central? Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Collins. The second list is contract total releases, and then you have an at-will selected release and at-will total releases. And at this point, let me turn it over to Luis, and then I think we need to begin the dialogue and the questions, because at the end of this conversation, we would like some direction from our trustees as far as not force placing any individuals, allowing external outside hires, and to make sure that we can move forward on those hirings and postings, and the fact that we will probably terminate our at-will personnel. So Luis, if you would kind of just give us the big picture on what this looks like.
Okay. Let me first say that I have to give credit to the principals and the HR staffing managers and the senior EDs here. Everybody has been working very, very diligently to try to address the release issue. When we started off in just the professional contracted employees, we started off with about 722 contracted releases. That is a lot of released personnel. And we've had several meetings, and we've kept our encouraging staff to, hey guys, there are some good people in here, let's try to get them as soon as we can, because that pool is going to dwindle. So people have been working the pool. Currently, we have, as of yesterday morning, selected 342 contracted employees off the list. So that leaves currently about 387 teachers, counselors, etc., still unassigned.
I'm sorry,
so the pool,
just to clarify, you're talking about the contract total releases, 719 minus 384 have already found positions.
That's correct.
Okay, and what is the selected releases? What's the difference between total and selected?
Selected, that's the areas, we broke it down by learning communities, and the request was that we needed the learning communities to let them know how many each of them has.
No, but you've got two different charts here. One says contract selected releases, and one says contract total releases. Selected the people that have already found jobs?
That's right.
Okay, so that number 324 is now as high as 380.
Well, the 324 from the 719.
324, I'm sorry.
324 from
Well,
719.
Yeah.
So the selected releases are people that have found jobs. 719 is the people that were released.
Total.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If you subtract the two, you have 387.
So 719 minus 324 is 387, which is the total number of unplaced personnel currently.
That is correct.
387 total number.
Those are our releases currently.
Total number of unplaced people.
Right
That's
now.
correct.
Contracted unplaced people.
I have a question real quick. I know that y'all said on the RIF, if we do a RIF, we can go by performance. But if we just do a release, is that by performance?
Releases is just released from a campus assignment. The RIF.
I understand that, but when we put them on, if the principal puts people on a released list? Do they have a certain process that they go through, like who goes on that list?
Seniority.
It's by seniority alone?
That's governed by policy DK, which
Well, it's
comes
not,
in line with
that's,
the
I understand that, and I'm asking that question specifically for the policy.
Because I thought we went by performance, but that's only if we declare risk we go by performance. But in this case, so we can we'll be getting rid of good teachers.
I see what, okay.
And the circumstances currently, we have posted all vacancies effective last Thursday. The superintendent gave us the approval to move forward and post all positions. So all positions are currently posted. So we now have posted positions, and we have a release pool that principals are currently working off of.
So we posted positions, but so we're not placing the 387 in the posted positions.
what's the
We have not force placed any employees at this point.
and what's the total number of available positions? Because I don't think that that's covered in this.
Yes, we have that's a sort of a revolving number, but I do have a contracted vacancies as of this morning at 415.8.
So we basically have 415 posted positions for any outside employee to apply to, or for any of the 387 that are left in the pool to apply.
Correct.
Posted position, 415 posted position that's online now.
That is correct.
So, but if we're not getting rid of folks because of performance, you technically can have 387 people that we're getting rid of them because of seniority, right?
That's correct.
Well, we're not getting rid of
Problem
them.
is we
Well,
don't,
We're still carrying them.
We're still carrying.
we don't know what areas those positions are in,
Right.
compared to the 387
Just-
are
just-
Well,
qualified.
we do know the areas. I just haven't
No,
provided.
we don't.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Just to clarify, the 415 currently available positions that are posted, those are posted for anybody on earth to apply to, not just our current employees.
Internal and external, correct.
So what about
Is that consistent with senior ED's understandings of the process?
Trustees, hold up.
Sorry.
Don't matter. Let them finish their presentation, and then jot down your questions, and then we can come back when they finish. Because we might be asking questions they're going to answer.
What else do you want to ask?
Go ahead.
As you're thinking DK and RIF, you know, the biggest discussion, and I think what we're asking for clarity around is I know the superintendent and the administrative team made a commitment that on AU campuses, we would definitely not force place any teacher. But we also shared with principals, and principals have heard loud and clear that it is also not the intent of the trustees to force place individuals. So that we're looking at 387 people that are unassigned that have contracts this year. Now, what I wanted to bring up, and something that I've, been talking to some principals and EDs, is this issue of forced placement. Because if the district declared a RIF, the RIF is not as easy right now, according to our current policy, as declaring those 387 people as an employment category. So if you had, and I'm just going to use this as an example, in the 387 teachers that are displaced, let's say there's 50 gen ed elementary teachers. If we declared a RIF, those 50 people, if their performance is a proficient, so let's just park them, we have to go out to the schools and look for 50 gen ed teachers that had below performance evaluations from last year. So they would be yanked out from the schools, and these 50 placed into those positions. To me, that's still forced placing and creating real upheaval on our campuses, because some of those people that have a 1 below may have been a first-year teacher that the principal thinks is worth keeping and working with. So, I caution us, just as we begin all of these discussions, that declaring a RIF with 387 people, we would still have these domino effects and bumping
that has been occurring, that occurred when we declared a RIF in 2008. And it's extremely chaotic at this point in the year. But the question is, you know, what do we do with the 387 people? And the principals have had an opportunity to interview them. The principals have the lists of these individuals with their certification category. Our principals, we had the internal job fair where our principals could also interview these individuals. And if they don't get picked up, we'd like some direction from the board on what we want to do.
But I have a question.
Hold on. You guys are finished?
Yes.
Do you have a recommendation to us?
I would like to, you know, our recommendation is to allow our principals to be able to post externally. And I'm going to use band as an example. There are fine arts people still in this pool of displaced teachers, but if our principals have interviewed them and there's nobody on this list of band instructors that our principals are picking, and band camp is going on right now, I think our principals ought to be able to hire externally for a band instructor, for example. So our recommendation would be to allow the postings externally, to let us continue working the release list to see and encourage our principals to look at them and interview those individuals one more time. And I have to say that some of our learning communities did a really stellar job when you look at the numbers on helping us pick up our displaced teachers. And, you know, our administrative team has considered placing, depending on how large the pool is, and that's what we have to decide. Is it too large to assign and park those individuals on campuses for this year without declaring a RIF?
Trustee Brandon?
First question, and then I have one for the EDs on what would they, since they're at the ground level. First question is about the 415 postal positions. Are we ensuring that we're not bringing back people that took the buyout and they're coming back to work for us?
That rehire.
No, the buyout that we offered.
The people that took the incentive in the spring, the 700 teachers, cannot be, well, we have said that they will not be rehired unless they pay us the money back.
Full check, and when they're going to have to come in with a check. We're not taking it out their check every month. They're going to pay it all back. But how are we making sure? Because I know for a fact a church member took the buyout, applied for a position, called me. I told her no because you took the buyout. So I know it's going on. So how are we checking balances on that? Because that's kind of like you take the buyout and you come back and work. That's Nan and Hoover.
Well, let's be clear. That's an administration decision that's being made. That hadn't been brought to the board, because that was not my understanding.
I thought if they took the buyout, they couldn't come back and work for us. But a lot of them are coming back.
I mean, they shouldn't be coming back.
A lot of them are coming back.
We originally in the spring said that they could apply, but after September 1, so that you would you would force a break in service for them. But
they shouldn't take the buyout and then decide they find a job and come back and work for us. I mean, we did that to save money, but then now we're paying them and they took the buyout.
I agree.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just.
They realized that's like an 18-month clause on it.
We should have. I mean, I don't know if we can do it now, but it should be some check and balances on that 415 posted positions.
Well, obviously, we know who the people were that took the buyout. If they reapply, I don't know why HR just can't flag them and say, oh, by the way, you owe us a couple of bucks, or your salary's going to be garnished for extra.
No, I don't think it should be garnished. We gave them a full check. They need to give us back.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that
Mama don't take no mess.
Yeah, we gave them $10,000, $8,000 to save money. How do you think that's going to look the trustees? We're going to look really dumb.
Well,
and we gave you a buyout, then the news get a hold of. Trustee hired 20 employees that took the buyout.
Right now, the public thinks they can do that.
Yes.
And because I've already been hit up by people telling me, so, you know, are you allowing these people to come back that took the $10,000? And I'm going, they're not supposed to.
General public does not think that. So we have to make that.
Claudia and Louise, you guys are here to sentiment.
Yes.
Okay. You can handle that?
We take care.
I guess in the question now is with the EDs, what did they, you gave your recommendations. EDs are on the ground, they ear into the ground. What do you think on this? Because y'all are having to make sure our schools are staffed with the best teachers. Any, Dorothy, any?
Well, when you look at, and I know that this Thursday there's going to be a bilingual job fair that's going to be external, because when you look at the elementary, that's where we're really hit. There's not enough bilingual teachers, but I know they're already working on it to open it up externally for bilingual. Yes, sir.
Well, that's what I was going to point out is that you got 119 vacancies for bilingual. That's going to skew the other numbers on the vacancy because you're limited on who's going to get those jobs. And I am guessing we're going to be bringing them in from other countries or states, like we did the last couple of years. You know, where
I think we brought a small number in, but I mean, I'm sure we'll hire them forever.
Well, I mean, again, it's going to skew that number. Right. In other words, because that means that the people that are available may not have that. You know, and probably most of them don't have that ability. You know, they're not bilingual.
But if the point here is to meet the needs of the student.
I understand that, but I mean, but we're having to deal with the RIF, we're having to deal with, I just need to make sure that we know what the numbers are.
Well, the number, if I calculated just off the quickly, you know, these 374 folks, if none of them find a job, that's $23 million.
Well, colleagues, can I hear from the EDs on this, what Dorothy was saying about?
You can't see me, Bernadette. I was just going to say something. Let's look at the math, because that's my big concern. Let's look at math under contract vacancies. You'll see in the West, and I'm just looking at the West, there are 12 vacancies, 24 total, right? Then you go over to the, they selected 2 in the West, and there are, if I'm reading this right, then there are still 40 people to be selected. You're going to have an excess, but what I think the principals have done, and I'll be quite honest about it, I think they've all talked and they know the ones they don't want to hire. So they've done a lot of homework behind the scenes, and I would too if I were a principal. I'm not going to hire somebody to make my scores go down more. So the question still is, what would you do with these people that have not been hired?
So you're saying we exhausted all our means on these people? These are people.
I don't know about all of them. I just went secondary. I've heard the principals say, and Regina and Leslie, you know, can chime in, but I've heard them say that they have checked and called each principal to see the performance level of the people on this relief list before they even went to the job fair that Thursday. So,
And for several years, they have not been able to really select people that they feel are of quality for their campuses, and so the same people are just cycled through and through, and so when they are held accountable for these scores, they begin from a level of frustration because they have people on there that they didn't feel really fit what they need.
I would concur with my colleagues that do have a couple of concerns. One, if all of these releases are so bad, somebody fell down on their job to do the documentation to move them out on performance. That's number one. And the somebodies are the principals on those campuses, and I will take responsibility as an ED that I did not supervise principals in the Southeast Learning community correctly on documentation to move out for performance. So the second concern that I had, if we are in a budget crunch, I mean, y'all have asked me to give up 2% of my salary, so I'm hoping it was because y'all needed the money.
Thank you. For the rest of the salary.
So the point is, if we are in such tight financial circumstances, what do we do with 385 people? I mean, what do we do with them that is going to have benefit to the district? Because I would have a concern as both a taxpayer, and I will tell you quite frankly, as a member of this team, to say that we are going to put those people to park someplace and we're going to continue to pay them. And I don't know how we can do that.
Can,
And then I would, can I say one other thing
Go ahead,
before you
go
go
ahead,
forward? And as to whether the principals had an opportunity to talk to all the folks, they had one job fair which was very congested. Many of them could not even get into the job fair. And so Claudia and Louisa, I would suggest that we have another round for them to be able to get to the folks, at least interview them to see whether they, you know, these are some folks that they really could use on their campuses.
If we go with another, make sure we get it out to all of the employees who do not have an assignment yet. I heard someone say they can get the notice too late.
They need the notice the day before, or the day of the call, so I believe that we might need to do another and then declare a risk.
we, for these posted, the 415 positions that have been posted, these internal candidates can apply for that just like any external candidate can as well, correct?
Yeah.
So if they weren't resolved properly at the job fair and through, you know, communication through the grapevine, these employees continue to have an opportunity to get those jobs. Is that generally correct?
That's correct.
At least that's what HR understands. Is that now, Ms. Newsom, is that?
No, it's my understanding that they can apply for those positions, but they have a contract, so, you know, they're not necessarily going to be beating down the path.
Well, what I would say, let's talk about the contract issue here.
Okay.
For a second.
Yes, they can apply for those. But I'm also saying that I think that there ought to be another round of opportunities for principals to be able to interview these persons. Secondly, I heard my colleagues say that some of her principals had access to the list, which my principals did not, so that they could check on the people. So
Do we
need to make sure that
They didn't have a list, they just talked amongst themselves on that and who they were releasing.
So in some places we have what it sounds like, if I'm understood, it's slightly conflicting information between Ms. Newsom and Ms. Itzel. We've got essentially some principals that are communicating effectively with each other sort of informally about folks that are in this pool, and they have been working pretty aggressively to hire folks in this pool. And then some principals who aren't tied into the same sort of informal DISD communication channels, and so they weren't going behind the scenes to grab the employees out of this pool that we would want. And so there are some people left in this pool that we think are of quality that haven't gotten a good shake at getting a gig on another campus. Is that an accurate assessment?
sort of kind.
Okay. And so then my issue is it would be a question of scale, right? So if some people in this pool are that are of quality might be 10% of this, that's a different, in my mind, that's a different action decision than if, say, 40% or 50% are of quality. Because if it was a 10% change, then we can let that 10% aggressively go out and apply. If it was 40 or 50%, then giving everybody a second round at the principals might make more sense.
Yeah, and I think the whole issue of quality is one that these, who is the, I mean, obviously somebody thought they were quality because they've been recommended for releasing through termination. I would like to see the CEIs on each of these teachers.
Well, I would certainly like to as well, and were I a principal, I would be doing that without question.
Well, principals don't have access to everybody's CEI, so I'm just saying.
Why don't they?
Because they don't. They have access to those that are campus.
Can we give them to all these released people? I mean,
Could that be part of the selection process?
Yeah, exactly. Part of the interview process.
Yeah, I mean, if you got 387 people left in this pool, you could have the CEI data published on all that, given to all relevant principals that have an open position.
I think it's know though that you're only talking about content on PE and the social work.
Well, I like to see it on content, Claudia, because those are the most critical. Right. That's the only thing we test on is content.
So to get back to Ms. Nuttall's point, the question as to whether or not to have another job fair, in my mind, it comes down to, do we think maybe 10% of these folks are of high quality and missed out on the opportunity, or do we think more like 40 or 50% of these folks are of high quality and missed out on the opportunity?
We don't know that number, but I think the process is not a fair process. Some people receive their notice the day before the job fair. The job fair was very congested. I think giving them opportunity for another job fair just to say, you know, you gave the opportunity, principals can pick up the 387, see their CEI, to see if there's any, you know, they want to pick up, and then from there, the board declare, you know, we decided we're going to declare RIF.
But we've got several conflicting goals here, right? So one is fairness to this group of people, but the other is giving students the best possible teachers that we can give them.
But we don't know we're giving them the best possible teacher with what we picked up. I mean, we got some that she say better.
So if the principals interview these people as well as other candidates, and these people are in fact the best possible candidates, then the principals will decide that.
Yeah.
If the principals don't have the opportunity to interview folks, then the principals don't even have a choice, and so they're going to think just because the clock is ticking and school's got to start, that they really need to hire out of this pool, and they may make choices that are suboptimal because the clock's ticking on.
I don't think principals, I wouldn't say that about principals. Principals don't hire people that are good at their building, because a good leader wants a good person in their building to lead. So I don't see a principal, and I'm thinking about the array of principals going to hire because they feel the clock is ticking. A good principal is going to want the best person. So I think because we sent notices out the day before, some people might have been out of town, job fair. I think as a district we need to be fair, consistent, and legal in treating people right and giving them, we're going to rip them, we need to know in our mind, we gave you 2 opportunities at job fair, didn't work, you didn't get picked up, we're going to have to rip.
Let me go to Edwin and then Eric and then Claudia.
So I have a question just to clarify on this. Now, maybe they got the notice the day before the job fair, and we've only had one. However, once those things get posted, those have been available for a while. They can contact the principals. Is that correct? They can. I mean, right now they can actively every single day be going to a different campus. It's not like the job fair is the only point of access to a principal to try to get hired. In other words, they can, right, so they can, they can on their own efforts seek positions. If they couldn't get to sit down with a principal that they thought that maybe they could have at the job fair because either they didn't go or because it's too crowded, they can every single day be calling one, going to interview, and, I'm not against having another job fair if that way there would have been 2. So they can go to one place to see all the principals. I mean, I think that's a good idea. I'm just saying that it's not like that's their only opportunity.
I'm just saying it's
Did you get your answer to your question?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, a comment and a question, and really this goes to the directors, and I think this needs to be said, but the Board of Trustees is not here to clean up the principal's mess. And they need to be held responsible and accountable for the people that they hire, and they don't need to wait for a RIF to get rid of the teachers who are not performing. And if you are just going to wait for RIFs to clean up and improve your schools, then that's too late. We can only do this RIF so many times. We're looking at 415 positions, and that brings me to my question. Number one, how many of these positions are critical, and what are we going to do if we start school with 415 positions open? I mean, is there not a consolidation process so we can, or a class size process so we can maybe eliminate some of these positions? I mean, how many are critical, and what's the plan if we start school in a couple of weeks with 400 open positions?
Could I just piggyback on that? Also, remember, I mean, we've seen our test scores. We know where we need to improve. I remember math and science, and then in different schools, individual things, but to align, to me, the critical areas where we need to improve the most should be the places where we should certainly not be forced placed.
It goes back to what Edwin just said about forced placing, and so let's say we have another job fair, we place another 40%, let's just say we're able to do that. We're still going to have some people, to remove them, we're going to have a RIF, but then our policy is such that we RIF these people, but then they can go into the classroom and remove based on our RIF policy, am I right, and remove people that are already in the classroom.
So we need to change that RIF policy.
I assume we do. I mean, we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot on that. just because of the policy.
Well, we need to
Well, the problem,
change the release policy.
Yes, the release.
Yeah.
What you need to do is you need to align DK with our current view of RIF, so that DK is done based upon performance. But then the RIF policy would need to be modified so that the first criteria is you're in this release pool. And then after that, you know, the rest of the stuff would apply.
Right.
So I think if we make those two changes to those two policies, we eliminate all of the problems with bumping that we've had in the district for the last 20 years.
So let me hear from Claudia, and I think we might also hear from Jack.
Claudia, can I answer my question? Is that
Back to what Dr. Flores was saying, he's absolutely right. These teachers know they're being released. They have an opportunity to visit with principals. But I promise you, based on the 2 years that I've been here, people in a displaced pool know they have contracts and they have no urgency to get a job because they know this district will place them. That
So
is.
do you recommend a job fair, another job fair?
Well, and that's, I was going to say, even with another job fair, number one, you know, I guess we could tell all 387 unplaced people that they better be there, but there's no guarantee. And then, you know, my concern is for principals, if we're encouraging principals to hire out of this pool, and they hire out of desperation because they have a vacancy, or because they're afraid we're going to force play.
They take what they can get right.
Right.
So we can't force place, let them change their policy.
We can't?
No.
Well, in a RIF,
There's no policy.
in a RIF, there is a forced placement.
There's a policy related to forced placement that allows the superintendent to force place. It's still done in line with the school. What if we get something like this, where we communicated with these 387 people and said, y'all need to find a job. It's the board's intention to RIF whoever is left in this pool after school starts that has not actively been hired. And it is also
It goes to the domino effect. It goes the way.
Well, we would change the RIF policy before we do this.
How is the domino effect explained, Nancy?
Well, because what Claudia said, if we declare a RIF, we can't just RIF 387 people. It goes back to the people that are already placed.
So it just makes more sense to have a job fair to see, and I don't think principals are gonna grab somebody just because. We're undermining our principals' leadership. I want to believe more in principals that they're gonna just get somebody just because.
I think I'm with you 100%, as long as we're clear on our communication with our staff, both our principals, to let our principals know you're not going to be forced to take anybody out of this pool, and the people that are in this pool, you better apply, because if you don't find a permanent position, we're going to have to release you.
If they don't, we're not going to do that right now.
No, superintendent can't force release.
No, but what I would say is that what we need to do in August and September is change the RIF policy so that the first criteria in the RIF policy is that you are in this reassigning pool.
Don't really until say October, November.
And then we would RIF in October, which incidentally is after the provisions of Senate Bill 1 come into effect. We'll need to look at leveling too.
We can talk a lot about RIF and criteria and categories. I'll just look at the box. I'm not sure if we can say that you're in the pool with the category.
Yeah, that's a real concern. RIFs are supposed to be based on financial exigency. They're supposed to be based on, we're short this amount of money, we need to cut this much staff to get to this point. All of the people in the pool are Chapter 21 employees. They all have contracts. They all have rights to appeal. And to terminate people in the middle of their contracts, you have to do it for cause. And all of these people are going to argue, I'm just saying, what are our options? Can we terminate them for just being in the pool? I don't think we can, because they're going to say, you guys put me in here through no fault of my own. It wasn't through performance. It wasn't through anything. It's your fault.
So can I comment on a couple of things? One, the Senate Bill 8 or Senate Bill 1, which takes effect 1st of October, lowers the threshold for contract terminations due to a RIF from cause to reason. It basically puts it at the same level as a non-renewal, not a contract termination.
Well, a RIF is basically a way around that whole process.
Well, and I recognize that, but the legislature basically authorized us specifically so that this is no longer viewed as a contract termination, it's viewed as a contract non-renewal.
But you're still looking at, I mean, what we should probably do is look at this as not just a pool. I mean, we're already using these people as subs, correct?
That was the conversation we had. Have a substitute for it.
what we're going to do with
Well,
we hadn't decided.
Jack, can I make a comment?
Yeah.
And Mike, RIFs are based on financial exigency. We know we have a $30 million shortfall
Next year.
But next year is next year. I would want to talk about not having a RIF until we know what next year is really going to look like. But going back to this, we did talk about a substitute pool for all these contract employees that we have. We know we're obviously going to have some opportunities for substitute because I don't see us filling 400 vacancies in 2 weeks.
Certainly before October.
Yeah.
And so my contention would be that you have these people who are going to fill slots until we actually hire permanent employees. At some point in time, we're going to have, let's say that 100 of these 387 find a position in the next job fair. And so we're left with 287 people. So that's not 23 million, but it's about 16 million, thereabouts. That if we carry them the entire year. And so what we would do, we have a clear financial exigency. We've got $16 million in unallocated bodies there. So you've got clear reasons for it. You add to your risk criteria, and the case law I think is fairly consistent. As long as you follow your risk criteria, you're in good shape. Now this has never been done before, but then again, every urban system in the state is also doing fairly lousy in terms of our educational outcomes. So the fact that it's never been done before doesn't frighten me at all.
So we definitely have a legal issue before we push for anything. First, before you, I saw a call in the information group. We'll circle back.
Well, certainly listening to all of this, everything this morning has been very instructive, but I do have some concerns and about several of the topics that have been discussed this morning, and this one concerns me greatly. As I look at the agenda and it's this discussion of personnel matters, it's a very broad topic. We had no idea, I didn't have any idea that this topic was going to be discussed. And certainly, I believe there are parts of this that have been, that people have made comments about, but this is a serious discussion that I think should be put on the board agenda or on an agenda for a board meeting, because some of the comments that are being made seem to lean toward decisions. And the board has to make decisions about this, and we cannot do this in a retreat. It's a very serious matter. It involves our employees, and in my opinion, Mr. Elrod,
I asked him, I said, are we supposed to?
We have a discussion of personnel matters.
Yeah.
certainly we have discussion of personnel matters. I'm saying that that is a very broad topic, and this is my concern. It may not be anyone else's, but as I hear everything that is being said about this, and there are some very, significant, important issues that relate to the employees, and even comments that hedge on decisions. And sometimes I've noticed, as we talked about other topics, something is said, and it's a foregone conclusion then that that's what we will do. It becomes a decision. So that's my concern. This is very important. It affects the number of employees, and it affects how we, as we all know, it affects how we proceed. So this discussion and some of the decisions that are being made about it, I think, rise to the level of our having a meeting where the public is aware, but also where employees or those who are affected get to hear this discussion, make comments, offer, and whatever information we have that contributes to this. We are privy to it. Any recommendations, generally just saying something about a job fair that is that was not organized well or that is chaotic, giving them another opportunity, employees another opportunity to participate in that, that's one thing. But as we go into discussions about what we need, about the what we need to do about policies, etc., I think that, for me, it concerns me greatly that we're doing all of that here. That is
Thank you. Bruce? I recall in the past when we were discussing this pool of taking these teachers and using them as substitutes. Is that something that we plan to do or are thinking of doing? Because I know we spend a huge sum of money a year with substitutes that we bring in and pay $300 a day, so or whatever the fee is. $100 a day.
And these folks generally get about $350 a day if you do the math on their
Right.
compensation.
Right. Okay. But
Mr. Parrott, if we carry these displaced people this year, they will be assigned to a campus, and we call it parked on a campus, and that principal normally then uses them in a sub-capacity, yes.
Will that eliminate us having to hire subs?
In those particular instances, yes.
But not necessarily.
But they're more expensive.
They're more expensive than subs.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out if we are stuck with the pool, you know, what do we do with them?
I think that we would be able to put them in substitute positions, especially if we encourage management to look in that direction. But the problem is that I think it's still more expensive than our current substitute option. So we're going to have financial repercussions to carrying these people.
One of our ideas, depending, and I don't really know what the magical number was, depending on the size of this pool, Mr. King and the chiefs have talked about taking them and asking the AU campuses if they could use additional assistance, you know, and give them 10 of these employees if they wanted them to use at their discretion to help on their campus, whether it's as a hall monitor capacity, a tutoring capacity, subbing capacity, but that would be up to the individual AU campuses and the senior executive directors, but that was also a thought.
And I would say that that's very expensive tutor or hall monitor.
I think we should have another job fair, and then after that, come back with a report of how many, because I have faith in principals that they're going to pick the best person. I mean, but you're going to still partner somewhere. If they're not good enough, I mean, you still got to pay them. So let's have another job fair and then come with it.
Dr. Blackburn, and thank you. I just wanted to hear from the senior EDs too.
The issue that I'm really, you know, wrestling with right now is we've got the jobs posted. You know, we're going to let these AU schools and these critical need areas hire from outside the pool. And right now, I mean, the direction we're going is we're going to let the AU campuses and the critical needs like science and math hire from outside the pool. And when I do that, that's going to increase the size of this pool at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of our plan. I mean, that's where we're headed. And but that will increase the size of the pool.
Let's hear from the EDs about the idea about having so many excess people who are trying to the AU schools and how they might be able to help.
There are quality individuals in the pool. If we get the CEI information, that would definitely be great for these schools because you don't necessarily have to use them as tutors. You could use them to lower the class size where you could have small classes of 10 to 12 students per class, which is what these schools would benefit from.
And in addition to what has been said, you can take some of these teachers, and as Dr. Gonzalez said, some of them are good. All right, all the people on this list are not poor teachers. And so therefore, you can use them to decrease the teacher-pupil ratio, like in math and science, because at this point, we are close to 31 ratio. And you could drop that in, or some of the principals are very creative. You'll take those teachers and use them as team teachers. And whereas you have two teachers in the classroom, a larger group of students, more students, but you have two teachers. One delivering instruction, the other monitoring. You know, they're all monitoring to make sure the students understand the lessons that are being taught. But you have two teachers working together in this. And therefore, there are a number of ways you could use these people. And especially in the AU campuses, to support the students' needs.
Any concerns from the executive director to, we're talking about 400, 385, 75 teachers. Some may be good, some may be bad.
My comment to that was, when we have the next job fair, if the principals have access to the CEIs of the teachers, they can hire more with confidence. But hiring into the line of the people that are left, they're very skeptical. So if they have some information on the teacher available, then they will hire with more confidence.
You want more real data instead of just, okay, well, I heard about it.
Right. Here's my resume.
The job for the CEI, just try to eliminate the 287 with the 415, and we can, the board can, someone have to go to a real, all of that, and you don't have to park people.
So that way we've given everybody a chance in this pool. We've given principals a good chance to go back to this pool, and the folks that are left after that, that's the folks that we have to deal
We
with.
will deal with them. It may be 100 left, maybe
Right.
50 left, but I mean, we don't know that until, I mean, we got 415 posted, 387. I mean, it might, and it's ED, and then there's some good people in there. Let them look at the CEI.
So we've got a board briefing next week, and I think the personnel issues is posted at that board briefing too. Can Dr. Rodriguez, can you report back to us sort of a CEI range within these categories for these employees, just so we have that data just for consideration at the board briefing?
Well, I'm gonna try to get Dr. Oakley to work on that this weekend with Luis, and so that the staffing managers can have CEIs on Monday.
Yeah, I think that would be fantastic. And I just think it would be nice if the board get a good idea of this as well.
That'd be great.
Could we take it a step further, because not everybody's got CEIs, and I know that there are a lot of people in that school that are fine arts or electives, and I know there's certain criteria that makes a good fine arts. For instance, if you've got a fine arts teacher, now Lou, your music, if you went to a music contest every year and you scored, was it 5 is the lowest or 4 is the lowest? I mean, to me, that would be equivalent to a CEI. It's like, this is not a music teacher that I would want. So in these electives in fine arts, could we also have some kind of background on these? Because I think it would be easy to say, well, let's go ahead and put these fine arts teachers into these positions, because they're not that important, but we're finding out now it is very important that we start testing, because it can make a difference in a school being academically recognized or exemplary if they don't have the top-notch art.
And the evaluation
I know that's a lot of work, but I mean, I'm also thinking there's a lot of people that don't fall into the CEI range.
You know, yes, that information is accessible. I'm just going to say the staffing managers are up to their eyeballs in working with principals, and, you know, we'll try to make it happen.
This will be just additional data they'll have to work with their principals.
Yeah. And I would also mention that the people from the Fine Arts Department, Craig Well and all them, they have been very, very helpful. And in fact, when I was in Molina, that's who I went to get a band
So
person.
we could just tap into Craig Well and his
He is the
department.
Fine Arts Department and take it off the Human Resources for Fine Arts.
All right, I have another.
Okay, Nancy and Jane Paul.
All right, several questions here. I know that, you know, we keep talking about this pool of people, but we also have, we have to save money, right? So if these pool of people are still here, we're paying, we're not going to really save the money that we intended to save when we release them. But on these, are all teachers at this point on a one-year contract, Alan?
Yes.
Or Claudia?
Yes.
So if a principal decides, a teacher at the end of the year, all right, I'm just not going to renew them, does that teacher go into the pool, or is there a different, I mean, just help me understand this.
They need to recommend them for non-renewal.
So they have to have a reason.
And they have to have
So they
cost.
have to spend the whole year doing the growth plan and all that stuff, right?
Yes.
They can't just say, I'm not going to renew you.
They need to have some cost, yes.
All right, so, but,
Reason.
all right, the other point is, teachers' aides, are they all at will?
Yes.
So if we decided, all right, we don't have to go through all this cool things with teachers' aides, right?
That's correct. It's the at-will employees, the list that you see of where are they?
Well, and the number's not important, but my point I want to make here is that we keep talking about putting these teachers in as substitutes. Have we ever thought about putting them in as, you know, you're going to have to pay them anyway, put them in as the teacher's aides?
And then release teachers' aides.
And then release teachers' aides?
Yeah, because they're at will.
Or at will. I mean, I'm just throwing another piece in there to look at. I mean, it's not happy for anybody, because somebody's going to lose their job, but I'm thinking, would it be less of a fiscal?
Well, we have $30 million that we're going to have to cut next year. You can't do that without teachers.
I'm just throwing that up. Have y'all thought about doing something like that? And also, if you did do something like that, if they're in there at a teacher's salary, doing teacher's aid work, could those people still be documented in their performance?
You want to give a response to that?
I'd rather do some research on it.
Okay.
Okay.
I spoke briefly to Mr. Elrod, because I have great concerns when we discuss items that are not properly posted on the agenda, and I know that it is inappropriate and really illegal for a board member to be a part of that. So I want to be sure, and I've asked Mr. Elrod to state at least, well, first of all, because this was a broad topic, and let me ask, how long have you known this issue, this matter existed?
We've been telling the board this since we started the whole budget process, that once we start cutting these 1,400 positions, that we could end up with improper fit at the end of the process, and that's where we're at. So I think nearly every budget presentation we brought this concern up. The problem we had is that we did not adopt a budget to June 24th as a result of the state, and then each principal had to go in and develop a master schedule, and then they had to determine which teachers to release, so everything was compressed into too tight a area, which is kind of beyond our control. And now we have this number we have to address, and this is the first opportunity we could really get it to you. And we had the job fair, last Thursday week, or this Thursday week, so that's kind of where we're at.
So in other words, before this agenda was posted, at least some of that information, you were aware of some of that information, and we can anticipate, well, you knew that this was, whatever it was, I guess this was the second agenda, this was the revised agenda that was posted. You knew specifically that this was going to be the topic of discussion.
We never knew the size of the pool. We still don't even know it right now, to be honest with you.
Well, not the size of the pool, but the released employees and the challenge we have with them. That was something that you were aware of.
When we added it to the agenda, we knew that it was part of what we wanted to discuss just then.
All right, so I would ask Mr. Elrod to respond to the question of, especially given some of the comments of our discussion.
Well, I approve the agenda, and I think having a broad topic is fine. I think I would agree with you that if there's going to be any more discussion about a RIF, maybe that should be for a later meeting and posted specifically for that.
Were you aware that we were going to discuss released employees and what we are to do with them?
I was aware that we were going to discuss the pool. Yes, ma'am.
The pool.
Any other comments, concerns, or questions?
Just based on the conversation I've heard, just our takeaway here is we're going to have another job fair, and we'll do it this week if we can, for all displaced employees, at will and contract, one more time, because we do also have at will vacancies. Because of our 119 bilingual vacancies, we are having a job fair on Thursday, just a bilingual job fair, to see if we can fill those 109 bilingual vacancies. And so we'll create an additional job fair for the vacancies for the displaced people that we currently have and those vacancies. And if the senior EDs would help us by getting the principals that have vacancies to those job fairs, it would be appreciated.
there anything you need from trustees?
No, one of the reasons that I asked Mr. King to bring this information forth is because I felt like everybody needed the information so that it wouldn't catch us off guard when school began. Thursday. Yes, and I thank you, Ms. Newsom. I'm going to talk to Dr. Oakley this weekend to get the CEIs on matching with the teachers that are on the release list, and we will get with our evaluation department and see if we can't get last year's evaluations to be a part of that
From the fine arts.
list also, and we'll talk to the fine arts people.
The bilingual job fair will also be external open.
Yes, yes, the bilingual job fair is going to be external candidates because there aren't any internal ones.
I want to make sure I'm crystal clear on this, though. We've got 400 plus positions that are now unfilled in the district, right? Job openings. All those have been posted, and our principals are still going to have the latitude where they can interview from outside. They're not going to be told, hold off till after the job's there. If you find somebody that you think is great, you still have the right to hire them. Is that correct?
But we have to realize, Nancy, that the people released they were not
released
on seniority, they were
And I
released on
understand.
seniority, so in the 387, it may be some good candidates. So we may need to reiterate to our principals that out of the release pool, they were released based on seniority, not performance.
But I understand that, but I think we're going to be sending mixed signals to our principal. On one hand, we're saying, okay, it's posted, but then on the other hand, we're saying, hold back. I'm like, which
In fairness, then we need to hold on outside hires until after the internal job fair.
Our mission is to make sure that we bring our A game to these kids every single day. And I would much rather err on the side of giving a principal latitude to choose from the entire universe of great candidates than to force principals to make a decision that they may feel pressured to make. Now, I totally agree with Trustee Nuttall that there are good candidates in this pool, and we need to give principals another good crack at them. I think if we do a job fair, we give CEI data, we communicate effectively with principals about, we want you to take another look at these folks because some of the folks just didn't show up the first time, and here's even more data that you have about them. But we also want you to make the best decision for your campus. Don't feel that you have to hire anybody out of this pool, but we want you to at least take a look at it. And at the same time, communicate with people in this pool that y'all need to go look for a gig.
I mean, principals need to show up
Right.
well, and just not ignore the 387,
Exactly.
because they were released based on seniority. You may have some good teachers in this pool, but they got released,
So
a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year teacher. And then on top of that, we need to do separate job fairs, elementary and secondary. Because I know at Lane, it was all of them together. So they didn't have elementary teachers who qualified for the elementary at one building and then middle school to another. But, that's the sad part, we release them based on seniority and not performance.
Right. So,
So what is your direction for outside hires?
I think we need to go ahead and open it up to outside hires while communicating with folks that we need to take another crack.
They may not even look at the 387 and say, no, they have that option. So we don't park 387 is going to impact our budget. Because I don't think as a principal, they know they have somebody in Duncanville that they want. They may not even look at the 387. They may be a good teacher. So I think,
But why are we erring on the side of they may be a good teacher rather than they are a good teacher? Because we have a mechanism that can guarantee that they are a good teacher. That's to give the principal open, unfettered access, both at this school and outside.
I think that you've read a lot of comments, so you have an idea about what we have to listen and then.
Well, I was just going to say, I do think that with the CEIs, principals will take a look at that pool. Because that's a known entity, that those will be staff members who are trained in our curriculum. And I think having the CEIs, they will definitely give them another look. I don't see it as an either-or at this point. I think it is a both-and. With the additional data, I do think that principals will look at the internal candidates, but I also think that we need to give them the opportunity, since the positions are posted, to go ahead and interview anyone who may apply. I see it as a both-and.
we're saying the same thing. I think if I'm principal for council.
But I want everybody to stay on the same accord. Everybody still feel open to exchange ideas like we did today. So the next time we meet, which won't be next month, I still want us to be open-minded and willing to share ideas. But in the meantime, may the Lord watch between me and thee while we're absent one from another. Keep us all in perfect peace until we meet again. Thank you. God bless.
Will we adjourn?
Oh, we are adjourned.